Hello, Libra. What if I told you a divine miracle is unfolding for you right now and you were guided here for a reason? Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where the messages are never random, only perfectly timed. This is your sacred space for truth, healing, and revelation, and today's reading is a powerful one. Have you been feeling like something's shifting around you lately? A dream you can't explain. A sign that keeps repeating. A sudden stillness before something new. Those little ripples in your day, they're not just coincidence, they are cosmic whispers. And today, we're listening. Libra, you are the keeper of balance, the bridge between logic and feeling, love and justice. You carry grace even when the world feels chaotic. But lately, you've been carrying too much. Always harmonizing, always softening for others. But today, the universe wants to return that grace to you. It wants to pour into your life a moment of divine recalibration. Not because you forced it, but because your soul is ready to receive. So I ask you now. Comment below, I am ready to receive my miracle. Say it. Mean it. Type it. That simple act of intention tells the universe and your own heart that you're done waiting in silence. You're ready to receive, not because you're desperate, but because you're aligned. You're not watching this by accident. You didn't just click randomly. You've been seen. You've been heard. And now you're being answered. I want to take just a moment to say thank you. Truly. Every like, every share, every comment, each one is a thread in the beautiful web we're weaving here together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your presence here isn't small. It helps keep this sacred space alive, where messages like today's can reach the hearts they're meant to touch. And Libra, I'm telling you with all my heart, you'll want to stay until the very end of this reading. Because what's coming next will not only confirm what your soul already suspects, it will empower you to take the next step with clarity, peace, and yes, a touch of magic. So tell me, dear Libra, what have you been feeling lately that led you here? What have you been praying for in silence? Maybe today, right here, right now is the moment the answer begins to reveal itself. Stay close. There's more light to uncover. Sometimes the gentlest shift can create the deepest transformation. And for you, dear Libra, that shift begins when you finally decide to stop pretending everything is fine when it's not. The Justice card doesn't speak in whispers, it asks for truth. But not truth to others, first truth to yourself. And when paired with the Queen of Swords, it's not just about clarity of mind, it's about finally trusting that your clarity matters. That your inner compass is not something you owe to anyone else, it's something you owe to yourself. There's a quiet kind of strength in choosing not to smile when you don't feel like it. You may have spent years being the harmonizer, the peacemaker, the one who bends instead of breaks, who agrees to keep the room calm even when a storm is tearing you apart inside. And perhaps, for a while, that felt noble. But harmony that costs you your honesty is not harmony, it's avoidance in a beautiful disguise. You weren't meant to keep the balance by shrinking. You were meant to help the world find balance by standing in the fullness of who you are. When you look at the symbolism of Libra's scales, it's not about constant compromise, it's about divine alignment. What if, instead of tilting toward others, you centered the scale around your own emotional truth? What if the balance was never meant to be about fairness to everyone, but rather fairness to yourself first. Real peace doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from integrating it. From allowing your voice, your real oneto, take up space without guilt. There is something incredibly powerful happening in your field right now. The energy of the number 2 is awakening your intuition. Not the kind that screams. The kind that whispers, "This isn't right, this isn't you, this isn't what you came here to settle for." And the master number 11? It shows up in your life when you're being invited into spiritual maturity. It's not just about insight, it's about illumination. The kind that happens when you finally flip on the light in a room you've been avoiding. The shadows that once made you afraid suddenly dissolve when seen clearly. Choosing truth doesn't mean confrontation. It simply means not lying to yourself anymore. It means recognizing that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for others is to be honest with them. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with. Even the most graceful among us, like you, must learn when to put down the performance and step fully into authenticity. That is the kind of grace that heals, not just pleases. In the teachings of wisdom passed down through many spiritual paths, there's often a reminder: when you speak truth in love, you align with divine order. And that's what you're being invited into now, not loud rebellion, but gentle, firm clarity. The kind of clarity that aligns you with who you've always been beneath the layers of politeness and performance. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to someone real. The version of you who doesn't filter her desires. Who doesn't second-guess her instincts? Who doesn't delay joy because she's afraid it might disturb someone else's comfort? The world doesn't need more agreeable people. It needs more honest ones. And you, Libra, are ready to become both balanced and bold. Let this moment be the quiet revolution of your spirit, the one where you stop apologizing for needing space, or time, or truth. You don't need permission. You never did. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when neutrality is no longer peace, it becomes postponement. And for you, dear Libra, that moment may be unfolding now. The universe is no longer whispering gently, it's placing quiet signs directly in your path. A dream that feels too vivid to ignore. A word someone speaks that strikes too close to your hidden truth. A feeling, unnamed yet persistent, urging you to choose clearly, finally, and without apology. This isn't a disruption. It's a divine correction. You're not being pulled into chaos, you're being invited back into alignment with your own voice. The wheel of fortune appears when the tides are shifting. Not randomly, but in response to internal readiness. Many times in the past, you may have mistaken stillness for safety. You believed that if you just stayed still long enough, the storm would pass, the discomfort would fade, the decision would somehow make itself. But what actually faded was your sense of direction. What dulled was your connection to your own desire. Stillness, when chosen consciously, can be a sacred pause. But when used to delay action out of fear, it becomes a quiet kind of suffering. This wheel is turning not to throw you off balance, but to wake you up. With it, the High Priestess arrives not as a dramatic force, but as a silent knowing. Her presence is subtle, but powerful. She doesn't tell you what to do. She reminds you that you already know. Every time you've said, "I don't know what I want," she gently nudges you with the memory of every suppressed yes, every swallowed no, every time your intuition whispered before logic silenced it. This moment isn't about external validation. It's about self-honoring. About reclaiming your right to act not when it's perfect, but when it's honest. You're not being asked to make a grand gesture. Sometimes, the most radical act of self-love is simply saying what you actually mean. Choosing what truly supports your growth even if it disappoints someone. Taking the step, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Life isn't asking for certainty. It's asking for willingness. And you, Libra, have always been more than capable of that, especially when your decisions come from a place of deep harmony with your truth. Certain colors are aligning to support your vibration at this time, and they're not accidental. Blue mist speaks directly to your throat chakra, gently coaxing you to speak, express, release. Not forcefully but clearly, and with care. Nude pink reconnects you with softness, the kind you often offer others, but forget to extend inward. It helps you remember that choosing yourself doesn't make you harsh, it makes you whole. And silver white wraps around your aura like a quiet cloak of clarity, helping you see what's truly yours to carry and what was never meant to be yours at all. You may recall simple wisdom you've heard before, perhaps even from spiritual teachings you once brushed off. The idea that we are not meant to dim ourselves for the sake of peace, but to become peacemakers by choosing what is right, not just what is easy. Sometimes, choosing yourself will not feel like balance, it will feel like a wave. But waves are nature's way of restoring the shore. Your life is reshaping itself. Let it. Everything you've postponed out of fear, habit, or politeness is gathering now at the edge of decision. And no, it doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be true. Let this be the season you learn the difference between quietness and quiet power. One silences you. The other sets you free. Some connections don't break you, but they blur you. And for someone like you, Libra, whose soul longs for deep and balanced partnership, the danger is not always heartbreak. Sometimes, it's invisibility. You were born to relate, to bridge, to meet others halfway, but what happens when you've walked the full distance while the other never took a single step toward you? That's the quiet erosion of self that no one talks about. It doesn't come with slamming doors or sharp endings. It comes with the slow fading of your voice in your own relationship. The Lover's card paired with the Two of Cups brings a gentle but powerful message. Love is sacred, but only when it meets you at your level. True connection is not based on pleasing. It's based on presence. And right now, you are being asked to reflect. Do you feel seen, truly seen, in the spaces you are pouring your heart into? Do your relationships reflect who you are becoming, or only who you've been trying to stay for the sake of keeping things comfortable? If you're in a relationship, this is not about confrontation. It's about alignment. You don't need to fight for understanding, but you do need to speak the truth you've been softening. You may have been postponing the honest conversation because you were afraid it might tip the scale. But love that cannot hold your truth was never balanced, it was avoidance painted in pastel. You are not being called to walk away. You are being called to walk honestly. Sometimes, that strengthens the bridge between two people. Other times, it shows that the bridge was only ever one-sided. And if you're single, take a breath. Someone is coming, but that meeting isn't the miracle. You are. What transforms everything is not finding someone who loves you, but becoming someone who doesn't question their worth without it. When your energy shifts from needing connection to becoming a channel of connection, the people who approach you must rise to meet you. You stop attracting echoes and start attracting equals. That's what the Two of Cups really means, not just partnership, but mirrored value. There's a soft warning here too. If you found yourself tangled in something undefined, unclear, or unspoken situationship, an almost love, a connection that flickers and fades, ask yourself this: are you being loved, or are you just being tolerated in a space that fears your wholeness? The truth may be quiet, but it is never confusing. Confusion is what happens when clarity is hidden behind hope. You may remember teachings that remind us love is not meant to enslave, but to liberate. That real love isn't about molding yourself into who someone else needs, but standing in who you are and allowing the right ones to meet you there. Love is an act of courage, yes, but also an act of clarity. And it starts with the question: am I showing up in this connection as my full self or only as the version I think they can accept? There's no shame in having lost yourself a little in the name of love. You're not weak for wanting to make things work. But there is deep strength in deciding that your softness must include boundaries. That your giving must include self-respect. That your love, as beautiful and expansive as it is, must also come back to you. This is the relationship the universe is asking you to build first, the one with your voice, your needs, and your worth. When you honor that, everything else real will follow. There's a subtle but powerful shift happening in the area of your work and money right now. You might feel it as a gentle restlessness, a quiet nudge that says, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. And you're right to listen. You've been incredibly generous with your time, energy, and talent, but the question now is, has it been received with respect, or simply expected without gratitude? Libra, your nature is to give, to support, to smooth the rough edges of any situation. But when giving becomes obligation, and support turns into self-abandonment, something sacred is being compromised: your peace. Work is not meant to be a place where you disappear into duty. It should be a space where your gifts are valued, your creativity nourished, and your well-being respected. The Queen of Pentacles and the Empress both speak to this energy call to reclaim your worth, not through force, but through quiet authority. These are cards of nourishment and wisdom. They don't rush, but they don't apologize either. They know how to give, but they also know how to protect what they've built. This is your time to step into that energy. Not to hustle harder, but to choose more wisely. You're being asked to look at your schedule, your tasks, your workplace relationships and ask, what still feels alive? And what feels like it's just draining your light? Setting boundaries doesn't mean closing doors. It means protecting your energy so the right opportunities have room to find you. There's also a clear message about money in this moment. Financial stability isn't just about income, it's about intention. Are you spending from your center, or from your emotion? Are you investing in things that bring lasting joy and support your vision, or simply reacting to stress with momentary fixes? The universe doesn't punish impulsive choices, but it does reward conscious ones. When you align your finances with your values, money becomes more than just numbers. It becomes a reflection of who you are and where you're going. The law of attraction, in its truest form, reminds us that we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. So if peace is what you seek, let peace guide how you work. If abundance is what you desire, let abundance shape your choices, not in extravagance, but in faith that there will always be enough when you live in alignment. You are not here to chase money. You are here to create a life that money simply becomes a tool to support. The number 6 makes a gentle appearance here, and it's no coincidence. In numerology, 6 is the vibration of harmony, beauty, and service rooted in love. When this number surrounds your career and finances, it's an invitation to build not just for profit, but for purpose. To choose roles that feel meaningful. To work with people who respect your pace, your heart, and your vision. And to realize that success isn't something you prove. It's something you embody, quietly, daily, with grace. Sometimes we're taught that success means pushing until exhaustion. But there is another way, one where success is grounded, sustainable, and aligned with who you are becoming. You don't have to prove your worth by being everything for everyone. You prove it by being true to yourself, and letting your work be an extension of that truth. If you've been praying for clarity about your direction, consider this your gentle answer. You are already worthy of more ease, more freedom, more fulfillment. But you must meet that reality halfway. And sometimes, that begins with the simple, brave choice to say, no more doing what doesn't feel right. I choose what nourishes me now. Balance, for you, has never just been about your calendar or to-do list. It's always been about how your inner world feels when no one else is watching. And right now, your body may be speaking on behalf of emotions you haven't had the time or spacito name. Tension that shows up in your digestion. Restlessness in your sleep. A vague fatigue that no amount of coffee seems to touch. For Libra, physical imbalance often begins where emotional suppression lives. You try to hold things together for everyone else, and in the process, you sometimes forget to check whether you're holding yourself at all. Let's gently return to that space. Breath first. 5 minutes in the morning may not sound like much, but it's enough to realign your nervous system with a calmer rhythm. Deep, intentional breathing reminds your body, you are safe, and you are seen. It's not just a mindfulness trick, it's a homecoming. You don't have to control the entire day ahead, you just have to return to this moment, and then the next. When it comes to supporting your system, consider what's soothing, not stimulating. Herbal teas like chamomile or mint aren't just for comfort, they help relax the nervous system, especially when you've been processing too much in silence. Your body, like your soul, thrives in simplicity. When things feel too much, step into light movement, yoga, gentle stretching, or a quiet walk in the morning sun. You're not trying to burn energy, you're trying to regulate it. When your environment feels chaotic, these small rituals give your body a reason to exhale. The foods you choose matter more now than ever, not as punishment or control but as nourishment. Leafy greens, omega-3s, warm soups, and water-rich fruits all speak to your body in ways language cannot. They support your hormones, restore clarity to your mind, and invite emotional steadiness to take root. Consider reducing refined sugars and heavy fried foods, not from guilt, but from love. These aren't rules. They're reminders, you deserve to feel good, not just look okay. On a deeper level, your heart longs for emotional rhythm. One of the most powerful practices you can take into your evening is simple gratitude. Write down 3 small things each night that brought you peace, joy, or clarity even if the day was difficult. This is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about training your awareness to recognize that even in chaos, something gentle is always present. A kind word. A moment of stillness. A laugh you didn't expect. These fragments, collected day after day, rebuild your sense of grounded optimism. There's a quiet lesson here, one many forget. You were never asked to be everything for everyone. Even in the teachings passed down for centuries, the wisdom has always been this: you must care for what has been entrusted to you. And yes, that includes your health. Your body isn't just a shell to carry your thoughts. It's a sacred space where your spirit expresses itself. And when your body begins to whisper through fatigue, tension, or imbalance, it's not failing you. It's asking you to listen. So today, don't rush to fix. Just begin to care. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Not because you have to, but because you finally believe you're worth the attention. The more you tend to yourself with consistency, the more your intuition sharpens, your mood steadies, and your energy returns not as something borrowed, but as something reclaimed. This is your invitation to make balance more than an idea. It's time to make it your way of being. If you're still here, Libra, it tells me one beautiful, undeniable truth: you're no longer willing to stay silent in your own story. You're no longer waiting for permission to choose yourself, and that decision, however quiet it may seem right now, is the beginning of a profound shift. This isn't about rebelling or proving a point. It's about returning. Returning to the part of you that has always known what balance feels like, not the balance of keeping others comfortable, but the balance of finally including yourself in the equation. Choosing yourself may not always feel like harmony at first. Sometimes it brings discomfort, resistance, or even guilt. But peace that costs your truth is not peace, it's performance. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You don't need to make sense to everyone. What you need is to be loved gently, fully, and consistently, be the one person who's been with you through every version of you, yourself. So let this moment be sacred. Let this choice echo louder than any past silence. And if you feel called, I invite you to anchor this truth into the energy of today by writing in the comments below. Speech balloon: I choose myself, and that is my first miracle. Not as a slogan, but as a declaration. Because when you choose yourself, when you align your words, choices, health, and boundaries with who you really are, the universe responds in kind. It doesn't ignore your courage. It expands with it. It meets you at the level of your belief. Ask yourself now, as gently and honestly as you can, where have I been quiet when I wanted to speak? Where have I stayed still when my soul whispered for movement? And what would truly shift if I gave myself full permission to stop shrinking and start standing? Remember, the energy of Libra is not meant to be passive, it's meant to be wise. It's not about choosing sides. It's about choosing truth. And your truth, once chosen, becomes the foundation for everything else: your relationships, your work, your peace. Thank you truly for sharing this moment with me. Thank you for your presence, for your willingness to explore the deeper layers of your journey, and for opening your heart to the guidance that came through today. Every like, every comment, every subscription is not just support for this channel, it's a thread in a growing web of soul-centered awareness. You are a part of that, and your energy matters deeply here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. So if this message resonated with you, I gently invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so we can continue to walk together, in balance, truth, and growth. You were never meant to live a life of quiet compromise. You were meant to live a life of chosen clarity. And when you choose what feels aligned with your soul, the rest of the world begins to rearrange itself to support that choice. Now tell me, my wise Libra, what are you ready to stop apologizing for? What part of you are you ready to reclaim? Let's begin, right here. I'll meet you in the comments.